I'm going to talk about setting default information for the report. So there are two layers of defaults that are important. There's controls, stuff that comes through to the report from the controls. And so you want to set all those defaults using the controls or using the report generator environment. And then there's the static information in the report that doesn't come from any control. It's just in the report template. And to edit that text, you would use the report template editor. So first, what I'm going to do is go to report, edit template. Okay, and you notice when you're in template editing mode, the tree that shows all the pages in the report looks a lot different than when you're in the regular report generator. And it lets you drill down into the different components of the pages. So some of the pages that I might want to change are the old style building component pages. Like if I go to attic and ceiling, the action save page is one that I might want to change the content in the title or the narrative text that's underneath the title on that page. Here I can show a preview of that old style action save pages. These ones with the action save boxes. So this stuff up here is static text. It's part of the report template. It's not driven by a control. If I was in the report generator and I clicked on there wouldn't be an item, a text item for me to edit. So that's how I know it's not driven by a control somewhere that you can change on the fly. It's part of this static template. And so if I want to change that, you want to limit the amount of times you're using this template editor, because it's a very it's a really significant change when you're changing this template. You only want to be doing it for things that you're going to be setting and using on every project. So to make this change, I would do edit template, and then let's see, I'll make a change. So I'll just say I'll put a new paragraph in here. Attics are the best place to work in the summer. Okay. And I'll refresh the preview, then I can look up above and see that. That's what it's going to look like. Preview doesn't make much sense in this situation because I don't have any dynamic text in there, but some of these text blocks have values from OptiMiser embedded in there. So it could say, the current R value attic is X, and it would bring in the variable from OptiMiser. I can show you what that looks like. I can start typing and I can search. Actually, I think it's called base attic. So base attic 1 nominal R value. I could insert that in there. And when I refresh, see that's 17.5. So that's the preview showing you the kind of what the value resolves to, and this is the variable that I'm using, base attic nominal R1. So I could use that system. Every control in OptiMizer is available here as a variable, so I can use that to build up text. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to say, okay, so I've got my attics are the best place to work in the summer. It says you want to permanently change the graphical PDF factory default report template. You only get one template overlay, one file that edits each standard report type. So that's why they're not good to use if you want to make changes that you're going to change something every time you generate a report, like a note, or something specific to that house. You only want to do it for things that are going to be used every time you generate the report. Yes, I want to save that. So that doesn't alter the internal code in OptiMizer. It just adds this kind of overlay file that you can send to your team so that everyone's on the same page. Everyone has the same edits to the template. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to close the template editor, and I'm going to go in here and go to the report generator. So this is where you're going to work most of the time when you're preparing to generate a report after you're done entering the audit information. And I'm going to go down to our action save old style building component page. You can see that it's got the change to the template there. Okay. Now I'm going to make one more change. This time I'm going to change something that is not best done through the template. I'm going to change something that's available as a control. So you might not know what is or is not available as a control inside OptiMiser. So one way to tell is if you're in the report generator again, not the template editor, but the report generator, you go to a page, let's say the owner concerns page, okay, the first owner concerns page. You see that it's got text and it's got some photo blocks. If I look up above here in the report generator, the pane up on the top left shows me all the elements that are on this currently selected page. The black labels indicate text blocks. So here's problem, cause, and a solution text. Problem, cause, solution. And then there's two photo slots, photo 1, photo 2. And the photo is actually the bracketed text in the preview tells you what the text label is if it's a text field, and it tells you what the photo label is if it's a photo. So this says drag and drop a photo to photo 1 on the outline. So that's where you drag a photo right there if you wanted to add that. But we're talking about text and we're talking about default. So I'm going to click on the problem, and it gives me a memo editor control right here. So I can click in that, and this is how I know that that I don't want to edit the template to change the default that's going to show up here. I just want to edit this control because there's a corresponding control in the interface somewhere. So I don't want to change the template. I just want to change the default. You can see down below here, here's a list of responses to this control that I've saved. And I've got the default is the one that's loaded here. If I wanted to change this living room issue to be my default problem, I could hit the default button and see how it puts that little default indicator down there. So now for new projects, whenever I start a new project, then I've got this living room problem will be the default problem. That doesn't mean they can't, the auditor, whoever using the software, can't change that. It's just what's loaded in there at the time. So if they don't make any changes, that's going to get loaded as the default first owner concern. You can also, write your own. Want to maximize rebates. Okay, I'm going to say I want to save that one. It goes down in my list, and again, if I wanted to set it as the default, I could choose default. And now that new row is my default canned response. We call these canned responses. Okay, so the next issue is what happens when I load a project that's already been completed. A project file that's already got data in it. So someone's gone out and collected information, saved the project, and then they send me the OPT file, let's say. Or maybe I have a project already on my computer that I've done before. I just gone through and made those couple of changes to the templates and changes to my default values. And I want to load that project. Actually, let me just take a quick detour here. I wanted to show you, here's the control that in the interface that corresponds to that owner concerns control in the report generator. So here's where it lives in the interface. It's down in the reports and proposals section at the end of the wizard in owner concerns. There's a whole bunch of them here. So you can do the same thing for any of these controls. You can come in here, root cause, you can change the default, you can select a different one, you can just type in anything you want in there, you can save it as default, whatever you want. The default's going to be loaded when the new project starts, and the auditor can change that as they go through. And this information is all saved. The current state of these controls is all saved in the project file. So when you hit save, you're saving the blow door number you put in, you're saving the improvements that you specified, and you're saving the text, the current state of whatever text this is. And so when someone opens that project file, they're going to open with all the information that was saved, including whatever we chose to leave in here as the owner concern and the description and the root cause and the solution, etc. These are all controls just the same as a DHW efficiency control or an attic insulation level or something like that. So they're all going to be saved and restored when you open a project. So I'm going to go try that right now. I'm going to open, I'm going to not save this project, but I'm going to open this one. Okay, so here we have a bunch of information. I'm going to go and just check out what is in the owner concerns. So you can see the owner concerns here are different. So, when I start a new project, I will get my defaults in there the way I set them. But this project file had information saved in these controls, and that is what loads up. So it's always the value that's that's saved in the project file is always what's going to load into these controls. So that's what's going to be in that slot in the report. Oh, you know what? We forgot another step. To have default values and report template edits take effect, we have to restart OptiMiser, unfortunately. So we have to restart OptiMiser, and after you're done doing edits to the template or to your default values. Okay, let's just make sure. All right, want to maximize rebates. That's my default value there. Go to the report generator, and I'll go down to my whoops, attic and sealant action page, and I've got my my template value in there. Okay, so let's go and open that project. And again, owner concerns is the value that was saved in the project. Go to the report generator. One thing that's handy about the report generator is it remembers while you're in the same session, if you haven't restarted OptiMizer, it remembers the size of the window that you last used. So I like to maximize this report generator window to give myself lots of space. And I get the new template edits are in place. So again, the edits that you make to controls and the edits you make to the template are really different, because control values are always can be overwritten by whatever was saved in the project file. Owner concerns, the all of the new style building component pages, these table photo pages, all the summary text and title, the photos and the notes, those can all be saved in the project file. And so it doesn't really matter what you put in the template. If someone has said, put a note in or change the summary, um, then it's going to get overwritten in here. So it's important to have your team on the same report template, but also to have the same default values file if you have a lot of information like that, and we can help you send that out. There's other ways to do it too, where you can have what's called the factory values. That so you have a set of information, set of notes or recommendations or things like that, default values for controls that are loaded when everyone loads their OptiMiser machine, but then there's another set, their own personal defaults that they can also load and gets loaded after. So there are different ways to do that, but the big distinction here is the difference between the report template and information that's loaded in controls. And again, I can tell that these are controls because I get to edit them right here in the report generator. I'm not in the edit template mode, I'm just in the report generator, and I get to have a view into those controls. Let's see some other common pages. Refresh. Here's an improvement table. This text at the bottom, you can see there's basically nothing editable on this page here. The tables, for the most part, in OptiMiser reports are static. They're not static. They're taking the current state of the project. They're pulling out the information from the improvements that you recommend. However, the formatting is not something that I can go in here and just change on the fly. And the text at the bottom is the same thing. That's part of the template. So I could go into the template editor and actually find that text probably and change it at the bottom, but I can't change this table. That is something that we can do for you, though, very quickly, very efficiently. In fact, we can do just about anything in these reports pretty quickly. So if you have a style of page that you want, we can do portrait instead of landscape. These reports do have headers and footers, but if you want to have a different header and footer, different information, we have two header image slots, and we have a bunch of text slots in the bottom for company information and stuff. If you need more of that, you want logos in the bottom, whatever, we can do all that stuff. So just let us know. Okay, so the other thing is I wanted to show you where this information is stored and how to get your team all on the same page. Okay, so we've talked about two different types of information: the report templates and the default values. So the default values, again, is any of the defaults that you've saved in these memo controls, but also any type of control. So the numeric values here, the year built, condition area, all this stuff. If you had attic insulation depth, you want to, or you always, I'm not sure what else you would want. Thermostat set points you could change. The only exception to that is with the improvement measures. Okay, so we have a library that stores those, so it's a little different. So for these numeric controls, attic square feet, depth, most of these controls you can just right click on and say save value as default, and that gets saved to a default values file that I'm going to show you. For the improvement items here, if I wanted to change which was the default item to show up on the list, I hit this little caret button, and I go in, and it shows me this is a view right into the measure database. So I can add and edit items. I can add whatever I want, and I can control what items show up on the drop-down list. And I can also choose which one is the default. So right now, here's my default R49. If I wanted to say, no, we always do R60, then I could change that. I just deselect the R49 and I select the R60 in the default column. If I wanted to remove the R38 fiberglass, I could do that. I'll remove R44. I'll do the same with R38 and R44 cellulose, because we never recommend those. So I'm going to just remove them from the list entirely. Now when I go back, I had already changed that control, so it's not going to put the default in. But in a new project, it would put the R60 default in there, and it's limited my list. So it got rid of the R44, the R38 and R44 items. And I can do that for any area. So, you know, if I go to basement, I want to change the default improvement is an R39 bat in the floor cavity. I can go to in here, and I can change my improvement to, let's see, an R30. And this one I hadn't touched, so it went ahead and applied that default right away. And that's what it would do for every new project going forward. That's how you change defaults for the improvement measures. You use these caret items. Every other control, you just right click and you say save as default. So that's especially important on things like the, you know, your phone number and credentials, or in the setup preferences area, your logo, your company name. You just right click, save value as default. That all gets saved, and you can distribute it to your company. For auditors, if you're going to distribute a list of, if you're going to distribute your default values, then it's probably a good idea to use this control. I hit the list button, so you can actually save multiple defaults. So you put in your different people's names in here, and their, you know, their address and email and phone, and all this information kind of going down. Even if the address and information is the same, just keep putting it in there, and you can list as many people as you want on your team, and then distribute that default values file. Sorry, make sure you hit save as default first down here at the bottom, and then that'll save the whole sheet as a default. So whenever someone comes in and starts a new project, they can pick their own name off the list and say, yep, and then it'll fill in their information down here. So get your default set in and list all your people in there before you distribute your default values. All right, so this is what I was going to do before. I'll show you where those values are and how to send them around. Okay, we're looking for two files, the report template and the default values. So they both live in customization UI. So forget the name of this. My installation is called OptiMiser GA3. Yours would just be OptiMiser. So it's in your C drive, program files x86, OptiMiser, customization, UI. And I'm going to sort by date modified here, and I should get the default values file. And here, this is what that report template looks like. They're both text files. They have a .xl extension, but they're both actually text files. So you could actually look inside them with a text editor, and you can see what that looks like. This is saving just the information that I've changed on that template, and so it's applying that as kind of an overlay over the existing, you know, the stock report when I load OptiMiser. So that's why you have to restart OptiMiser after you make changes into the template. But then once you do, every new report you do will include that. The default values, same thing. That includes all the defaults that I've saved, company name, all this stuff. Some of this stuff is going to be hard to read, but you get the idea. And again, you're gonna grab these and send them, and people are gonna download them, install them, and when they restart OptiMiser, they're gonna have all those defaults in place. But again, it will not change the values that are already saved in project files. So if I go File, Open, and I find all these OPT files, see all these? These are all OPT files. Those are OptiMiser project files. They say all the data that I've entered into the controls are saved in there. When I open one of those, whatever someone put as first name is going to load into that control, no matter what I've saved as a default. And that includes the owner concerns, notes, all of those things. They're saved in the project file. When I open the project file, my defaults will get overwritten. but it does not apply to report template changes. So if you've edited the report template, all that static content, that should stay put. Okay, so I'm going to just show you. I'm going to mail to myself the default files. So again, program files 86 on the C drive, OptiMiser, customization, UI, the default values.xl file, and the custom report OMPDF UI report file. I'm going to attach those both, and I'm going to send them. Now here's, I'm pretending to be your colleague, okay, and I get this email, and so what I'm going to do is download these files. Here they are. I'm going to take them both and Control X. I could do cut or copy, either way. And again, I'm going to go on my computer, program files, x86, OptiMiser, same location. And then I'm going to hit Control Paste and just replace that one. One of them, because I already had a default values file in there, in my downloads folder, it gave it a different name. But when your colleagues do that, they won't have that problem. They'll download them, copy them, paste them in here, and it will replace both files. Both files will get replaced. And now they're gonna restart OptiMiser. So that's an important part. Make sure that they know that they have to go in and restart their OptiMiser for those changes to take effect. And once that's loaded up, then they're going to have all those defaults that you set.